You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Well, here we are yet again. I'm sure you're all sick of seeing us right now, and seeing this. I'm certainly sick of seeing this right in front of us. This is Tropical Storm Isaias, and it is still threatening the US southeast and could become a hurricane later today before making landfall in the Carolinas. Right now it's got winds of 70-mile-an-hour winds. The pressure's gone up a little bit to 998 at the latest National Hurricane Center advisory. Hot off the press is the latest news regarding warnings that I'll relay to you now. The storm surge warning has been issued for portions of the Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, including the Noosa and Pamlico rivers, and for the North Carolina Outer Banks from Oregon Inlet to the North Carolina-Virginia border. The tropical storm warning has been extended northward to the mouth of the Merrimack River, including Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, and Block Island. The tropical storm watch for the remainder of the Chesapeake Bay and the tidal Potomac River north of Cobb Island has been changed to a tropical storm warning. The tropical storm watch has been extended northward to Eastport, Maine, and the tropical storm warning has been discontinued south of Altamaha Sound. So as far as I can gather, I think all warnings are now off in Florida. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined by our team in this hour, consisting of quite a few people. I'm joined by Alan, Ike, Andrew, Cesar, Rain, Strat, and Wyatt. Good morning and afternoon for some of you. Welcome.
Morning.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Buenos dias.
Now, there's been some discussion on our community servers about this storm not looking so great recently, and its pressure's obviously gone up, but it's still packing 70-mile-an-hour winds. So what's the explanation for that?
I mean, the simple explanation, it's the National Hurricane Center forecast discussion, is that it's kind of been going through pulsing phases of better organization for some time period, and then another bit of a weakening phase where it tries to lose some of its structure about every 8 hours or so, is what the National Hurricane Center has been saying. And that they're expecting, if that holds true to form, that we'll see another new burst of organization within the next few hours, and that combined with it moving a bit more in alignment with the upper level winds, which will allow shear to decrease, could allow it to become a minimal hurricane again before landfall in the Carolinas. Although notably, they did say that 60 knots at the advisory may have been slightly generous. It might be 55 knots instead.
That's interesting.
But it's still a strong tropical storm nonetheless, and people along the Carolina coastline, particularly where the hurricane warning's in place, should be preparing as if this is set to make a hurricane strike.
Yeah, so generous, they say. What grounds was the intensity put down on then?
They said that the highest 700 millibar flight level wind observations were 63 knots.
Oh, no, there it is. There's the line. The initial intensity is held at 60 knots, perhaps a little generously, for the advisory, despite the recent rise in pressure. And they found Doppler radar velocities from Jacksonville suggesting winds of about 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, it's still a strong tropical storm, and people should be preparing for it along the Eastern Seaboard, where tropical storm watches now extend up almost I'm pretty sure that's the whole coast of Maine now, pretty seriously.
Yeah, this is actually the old cone, so let's just see if we can update that live right now as soon as their cone has come out. There it is. So that's the latest from the National Hurricane Center at 11 a.m. And you can see now just the extent of tropical storm warnings, which is an enormous area of the US East Coast now, and the watch is extending virtually all the way up to the Canadian border. So you can see there a hurricane expected for landfall, being a bit on the safe side. The way it's going, though, only, 9 hours away from landfall at this point. I'm not sure it will strengthen enough to reach hurricane status. Although I guess one thing you could factor in is that the storm will be moving more quickly, and that could contribute to higher winds.
I mean, one of the things that they've said for a while now, and it's going to be more visible now as it begins to interact with this trough more, that's going to pull it very quickly to the northeast over the next 2 days now, is that that's actually going to potentially help it maintain some of its intensity, or at least not really weaken too significantly during significant portions of its track up the eastern seaboard of the United States. So even portions well up into New England and Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and potentially Vermont, New Hampshire, and even Maine need to be preparing for potential tropical storm force winds at their location.
Now, this is not the only thing we're tracking today. We've also got Typhoon Hagupit, which is about to make landfall in China right now, the eastern coast. This is a high-end Category 1. Our estimates have it at 90 miles per hour and a pressure of 972. That's about to make landfall over very densely populated areas along the east coast. And there are about, oh goodness, I can't remember what the number was now. I think it's 40-something million people who are in a risk of 50-knot winds or higher, and 30-something million for the east coast of the United States. So double impact right now on either side of the world.
Coincidence? I think not.
So if you've got any questions during today's stream regarding either of the two storms, we're happy to just swap and go with either of them depending on what we're talking about at that very moment. But we're geared at least to be more on Isaias. But, you know, if you want to ask questions about Hagupit, we're all ears. Just want to point out the radar imagery before we get further in depth with the team. Let's just zoom in on this area. I don't know why we're running a bit slow today. Towards the coast of Georgia. Oh, great, that's gone right in now. Excellent, that's not very helpful. Huge amounts of rainfall there, a significant band blowing through Beaufort and across Interstate 95 now, just west of Savannah. Savannah just about missing out at the minute, but it looks like it will get more of it later. So you could see some significant rain accumulations as that band moves ashore, especially Charleston. It's about to get it right now. So we'll keep watching out for that.
Yeah, definitely. And now I'm taking a look at the webcam. This in Palm Island in South Carolina, which is a bit about what a few miles northeast of Charleston. As you can see, there's still some people in the beach. I'm really sorry for the bad quality of the camera. I couldn't get anything better. But you can see it's already it's already very overcast, and you know there's still some people in the beach. So that's something concerning, because I was taking a look at another webcam from Charleston. I think I'm gonna show it to you right now. It's loading. I'm sorry, my computer's kind of.
We'll just switch
right
to
now.
Radar for the moment whilst you get that up, but we would like to see that because it's about to get, looks like, some significant rain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right,
and that
there we
does
go.
relate to
We
the
have it.
rainfall forecast with the system. You know, still expecting portions along the South Carolina coast to get up to 6 to 10 inches of rainfall on a significant swath of land from South Carolina all the way into the mid-Atlantic, almost into New England, with 4 to 6 inches of rain, and that's going to raise a very significant flash flooding threat for the region.
It may be possible that flash flood warnings may be issued.
Breezy there, not
we
looking too bad right now, but I imagine that area is going to get steady rainfall in the next 15 minutes probably.
Yeah, the webcam I'm showing right now, it's from Foley Beach, Charleston, South Carolina, I think. Well, as you can see, it's still kind of overcast. There's still some people in the pier, and there's still some people on the beach, which is kind of concerning, because even if the storm is still far away, it could still, have some sort of rip currents, which could be very dangerous if you go into the waves. But yeah, I would say that people, don't seem to be taking this way too seriously.
Why do you think that might be?
Well, I don't know. I was actually talking to my friend, which lives in Myrtle Beach. He just told me that people just, think that storms just don't make such a big impact anymore, which feels kind of weird, personally for me.
It is possible,
yeah.
but I wouldn't say it's, there is going to be some areas that are going to have a significant impact on what could be a hurricane landfall.
Yeah, I also would note that, just by seeing a couple people on a pier doesn't necessarily mean that that's what people in general in that area
sure.
are doing to prepare for the storm. I'm sure most people are
Yeah.
being responsible and listening to the warnings from the National Hurricane Center and updates from their local weather offices to make sure that they're doing everything they can to stay safe and prepared for the system. But of course, there always is a few people that try to be a bit more nefarious with their preparations.
You can look at that
Yeah,
wind field there. This is a little bit early. Let's see if we've got an update on that one as well. There we go. So the tropical storm wind field is just off the coast in those tropical storm warned areas, and it's probably about 20 miles off the coast of Charleston.
Yeah.
So that's according to the National Hurricane Center's map. Was that Wyatt?
Yes, I do want to point out, though, in one of the bands that is offshore of Charleston, as of now, it's not 8 minutes ago, a sustained wind of 25 miles per hour was reported. Not too far off the coast of Charleston from a ship. And even though it's not sustained tropical storm force winds, gusts usually could be as high as 10 15 miles per hour above the actual sustained wind. So gusty winds approaching tropical storm force are not really out of the question right now for Charleston in the next hour or so.
And again, looking at this radar, let's just switch to Jacksonville because that's closer right now. I've been looking at the Charleston area. Here is the view from the Jacksonville radar, and you can see quite clearly where the center of this storm is now. What you'll see is that a spiral is working its way in towards the center there. There it goes, and it's moving up towards the north at this point, so we expect that it will move towards the north, then east, and you draw a cone, something like that. Although there is still a fair amount of uncertainty in where the storm is actually going to go, but some significant bands about to reach the coast, and on the western side, still not much. There's a little bit of rainfall, perhaps locally developing there, in between Jacksonville and the border with Georgia, but and just north of the border as well. But most of the action's on the north and the east side.
And that's been pretty notable with the wind shear that's still over this system as it turns to the northeast and north-northeast over portions of today. That should lessen a bit, but it's still under 25 to 30 knots of vertical wind shear cutting through the storm and displacing that convection to the north and east of the center. You can still see yet another day with the southwestern half of the storm mostly bare. And now the forecast for the National Hurricane Center is no longer calling for there to be any tropical storm force winds on the southwestern quadrant, even when this makes landfall. So a bit of a deviation from yesterday, kind of pulling back from prior expectations that this may have a bit more uniform convection and wind speeds at landfall.
We're also joined by, well, let's introduce some of the people that we haven't spoken to so far. Is Cesar there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, eventually
Here
we
I
got. You're watching from afar in Mexico. What are your thoughts on Isaias right now?
Well, Isaias has been a really difficult storm to track so far because all of its uncertainty about its intensity and, well, overall behavior. And my concern is, of course, first of all, with the people who lives in the coast of the Carolinas, in North and South Carolina, because of course it's going to make a direct hit, and we remember that they had a really difficult storm back in 2018 with Florence, and Isaias is still moving. It's going to accelerate and it's going to expand its wind field of tropical storm force winds as well. It's going to be for the people who lives in the northeast coast of the United States, the first impact in the Carolinas, it could be like a shield for them because Isaias will weaken as it moves to the north. But of course, flash flooding and high amount of rain is something that we should take really seriously because of course it's going to be it's something that we can't really prepare for something like that.
Now, looking at the latest radar imagery, you can see on here, I can't make my mind up whether it's showing signs of weakening here or not. is anyone seeing the radar and have any thoughts on it? It's just getting a little bit less cohesive on the northern band.
Yeah, and that always shows in infrared. Infrared right now is warming up, kind of unexpectedly, I would say. A bit too much. But yeah, that's what I have to say for now.
And we've also got Ike showing us some webcam imagery as well. Where's this?
It's in Jacksonville, Florida.
So this is probably the closest webcam to the center of the storm as it is at the moment. However, I'm trying to sort out my settings here. Nope, it keeps failing to work. There we go. Yes, so there's another view. That's Jacksonville. That's about, something like 60 miles away from the center of the storm. And pretty soon it will start to be closer to Savannah and then Charleston. But on the western side, there's not huge impacts. It's very breezy, as you can see. There's still people walking along the beach there as well, though.
Yeah.
And also in the path of the storm still at this point is Rain, who is in Connecticut right now, I believe.
I'm sorry, Nathan, what did you say?
I was just wondering your thoughts about the storm as well, considering that you're ahead of it right now. Oh, I think we've lost him.
Maybe not.
All right then.
Oh, wait, no, I'm back. Hang on. Sorry, my audio's messed up here. I'll come back in a second.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Let's see if we can take any questions then. Start your message with Force 13 all in text as we continue looking at the webcam here. It will light up big and bright for us. We did see some earlier on as we've been discussing this. Could Hagupit peak as a Category 2 at landfall? I think it definitely could. Looking back, there it is. Typhoon Hagupit right now. It's got a decent looking eye and eye wall. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
It could definitely do it. It's been looking quite impressive. It just doesn't have a lot of time anymore as a thing. Land interaction is really going to start to occur imminently. So unless the thing wants to continue intensifying a bit further while parts of its core are starting to go over a bit more rugged terrain there, it's going to be very difficult for it to do so as it moves inland at landfall. But it does have a small window of opportunity to continue to intensify further as it has been.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be within 6 miles per hour because right now we have the intensity at 90 miles per hour, but it just won't really matter exactly the exact intensity because it's within a few miles per hour. Not much is going to change with that.
Yeah.
Well, and we have to take in mind that China sorry for that, has some really several bad weather with lots of rain, monsoons over the country, and of course these new amounts of rain could make even more difficult the things. And it's going ahead to a very populated area as well. And Nathan said it quite a few minutes ago, between like 30 to 40 million people at least.
Wow.
So of course it's really concerning.
Yeah.
I was actually counting yesterday. It's about 178 million people in the cone right now. Which is quite a bit, and
that's
just
with tropical storm force winds, but I think it's about 40 million people for 60-mile-an-hour winds, which is where it starts to get more destructive. And if you've just joined us, we are covering 2 storm events right now. This is Typhoon Hagupit, about to make landfall in China right now. A high-end Category 1 typhoon, and if you've just joined us, this is what Isaias is looking like this morning. It's currently got winds of 70 miles an hour, though you probably wouldn't know it looking at satellite imagery, and a pressure of 998. That has gone up since yesterday. They've kept it at 70 miles an hour. I don't think they're convinced, the National Hurricane Center, so they're giving it a little bit of leeway, see if it gets itself back together once again for the 100th time during its life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically seeming like what they're doing. They said it might be generous to get this 70 miles an hour at the current advisory, but that they're expecting another spurt of reorganization as we've seen happen multiple times over the past few days. And someone is asking a question. I'm Cool Guy. Thank you very much for the support as well. Is Long Island getting tropical storm conditions? And the answer to that is likely yes at this point. Although how much so is going to be more dependent on your exact location. So stay up to date with the latest forecasts for your exact location from your local weather office and such. But if we had the wind speed probability map, portions of Long Island reaching to southern Connecticut are now over 70%
I don't have that one.
tropical storm force winds.
I'm back.
I don't have that one.
I'll see if I can pull it up real quick, but portions of Long Island and reaching to England now, very likely to see some sort of tropical storm condition.
I fixed my audio. I am back.
Yes, welcome back, Rain. So you're up there as well in Connecticut. Are you expecting tropical storm conditions?
Yes. I mean, every day, as I've been trying to say, is it's just been getting less and less.
Nope, looks like there's another outage there. Oh well.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Strat's. I'm looking at Strat's stream, and it says that there are like approximately 70% chance of Long Island having tropical storm force winds.
Yeah, it really depends on the exact county because Suffolk's further out on the east. So right now there's slightly less odds on this, but you got to keep in mind as the storm continues to move north, the odds in New England and much of the Northeast will rise as the center of the storm approaches, and there's increasing certainty about where tropical storm force winds are most likely to occur. So stay up to date with your local weather office. If you're under a tropical storm warning, it's because they're expecting tropical storm conditions within the next 24 to 36 hours or so. So if that's the case, make sure you're staying prepared and have your plan in place in general. And notably right now, Carolina's really over 90% at a lot of locations there.
Just to remind you of the color scale there, because we can't quite see it on the screen, you've got the green areas, that's the first layer on the outside, that's less than 10%, then it's 10 to 20, 20 to 30, yellow is 30 to 40. Once you get that light shade of orange next to the red, that's 60 to 70, the first red is 70 to 80, and then the purple's there above 90%.
Yeah, we scroll down a little bit, so the scale's visible on screen right now for people that need to take a look at it
Just
as well.
about halfway. Yeah, so significant chances of storm conditions, and I wonder if you could bring up the other ones as well, the chances of 50 knot winds.
Yep, we can do that real quick. Here's the 50 knot one. So a bit less likely once you get further north, but definitely possible and expected potentially for portions of the Carolina coastline as this makes landfall. It is expected to weaken as it moves over land. Of course, tropical cyclones do need warmer water to really sustain themselves. But due to baroclinic forcing that's going to have with this trough that it's interacting with, it'll probably weaken, at least in terms of wind speed, slower than you would anticipate for a tropical cyclone that'll be inland for over a day and a half as it moves up the eastern seaboard.
But some models have been suggesting that it will more than hold its own as it moves through the eastern seaboard. It really depends on how close it is to the coast. If it does move inland, like the NAM 3 kilometer is suggesting, then it will weaken much more substantially as it moves up. It thinks it will go through Maryland and Pennsylvania, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really close call overall. I mean, regardless, even if the exact center of circulation isn't over water to fire convection on it, it'll still be pulling in energy from the warm waters of the Gulf Stream. And even when you move further north, away from the Carolinas, the sea surface temperatures are still close to 26 degrees Celsius. So you could still see new bubbling thunderstorm activity try to pull in from the eastern side, although it is generally anticipated that the worst rainfall will be to the north and west of the center, which has primarily been the shift that's occurred overnight in terms of the rain shield associated with the storm. Due to interaction with the trough as it moves to the north and east.
We're looking again at the visible imagery right now, and you can see there the northern side quite clearly still the dominant side. There's hardly anything on the southern side, as a matter of fact. It's all north and east, not much on the west. And let's.
So basically, the southern side is pretty much dead.
Well, it isn't for this very moment, but things could change.
Yeah. I'm seeing another question. What about Middlesex County in South Connecticut? How's it looking?
Strat?
Middlesex County, you said South Connecticut is what you said?
Yeah, southern
If
Connecticut.
it's along the shore, that's going to be further to the east, so it's going to be east of New Haven in Connecticut. So tropical storm force conditions are still definitely possible in terms of wind speeds. Fortunately for them, though, once you get further east along the coast, the rainfall forecasts will die down a little bit. However, almost all of Connecticut is expecting at least 2 to 4 inches of rainfall from this. So if you're in a flood-prone area, please stay on guard for the potential risk of flash flooding, as a lot of this rainfall is going to be occurring in potentially a short time frame, as Isaias is supposed to be racing north-northeast by the time it's passing our location.
Plenty more questions that are coming in there, Strat, if you want to take them up.
There's a lot of people asking, how high are the odds this becomes a hurricane again? And I think the easiest answer to this, Nathan, you'll probably agree with this, it was much more likely last night when it was looking much better organized than you could say it is right now, potentially.
I might even suggest that's just a little under half chance now.
I was actually speaking to my friend before this, and he said that there's a chance that this may become a Category 1 hurricane back up again.
And, regardless, the National
Definitely
Hurricane Center
could.
said this in their forecast discussions. The difference between a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm and a 75-mile-an-hour Category 1 is negligible for the most part. So if you're in the Carolinas, particularly under that hurricane warning, please prepare us if you're going to get impacted by a Category 1 storm. Really preparations should be complete imminently, as some of the rainfall associated with the system should be moving on shore in those areas soon. So just make sure you're staying up to date and informed and safe.
Also, a bit of a wild card as well is that extending out about 20 to 30 miles off the coast of North and South Carolina is particularly warm sea surface temperatures. So if this thing's going to make landfall, which obviously looks like it's going to, we would ideally want it to happen as quickly as possible so it doesn't have any extra time to strengthen.
Yeah, and that in particular is like 31 degrees Celsius as well. So if it stays over that for any time period and wind shear is lessening, it could be potentially concerning for the short term.
Somebody asked, what are the chances of Isaias stalling over North Carolina?
No, it's not Florence.
No,
Of course,
it's gonna be lifted by that truck.
It's only going to speed up.
Yeah,
basically there is almost zero chance that that's going to stall. We don't want a repeat of Hurricane Dorian.
Yeah, I mean, we got a very strong steering flow that's going to be picking this up with this upper level trough that's cutting through the eastern United States. And this morning, at least, if you play the IR loop from a few hours back, you can actually see some interaction already occurring between the two as their convective activity kind of try to mesh a little bit. So this thing's really going to kick off to the northeast at an accelerating pace and will not stall at all. Questions about upstate New York as well.
Before you do that, let's just look at rainfall totals there. You're looking on the screen, the purples that are over land and out at sea. That's more than 1 inch of rainfall in total so far, and those numbers slowly rising. As we look at that, Strat, go ahead.
We just had some question about upstate New York as well. Fortunately for them, at least, closer to Lake Ontario, it depends if you're closer to Buffalo. They're not really expecting any significant rainfall from this, although you could get some minor precipitation under an inch, and unlikely to receive tropical storm force winds there. If you're a bit further north and east along New York on Lake Ontario, you could see up to an inch of rainfall, maybe isolated amounts slightly higher, but you really shouldn't be expecting anything too significant from this system. But make sure to stay up to date with your local weather office, because Lake Ontario covers a significant portion of the northwestern U.S. coastline, so it really depends on your exact location.
Yeah, and it's also we also have to say that I think the biggest threat from storms like this isn't exactly the winds. It's more about the rainfall, the flash flooding, and the storm surge. What would you say about that?
Yeah, storm surge. Storm surge is a big
definitely
threat.
The storm surge is something really concerning about, and I mean the wind speeds are still there, 70 miles per hour at least, possibly a hurricane. Of course, flash flooding could increase, and it's going to increase as Isaias is moving to the north, and well, it's something that actually can take people by surprise, and well, it's something that if something concerning because we've seen a lot of people still there in the coast, and they're not like leaving in those places.
Yeah.
Let's
So,
reiterate
let's
some
just
of
hope for the
the
best.
hazards that are in play right now, according to the National Hurricane Center's latest advisory. It always pays to read down the page because there's a lot of information on there. So the storm surge totals that we're expecting right now: South Santee River to Cape Fear, 3 to 5 feet; Edisto Beach to South Santee River, 2 to 4 feet; Cape Fear to the North Carolina-Virginia border, 2 to 4 feet; the Altamaha Sound to Edisto Beach, 1 to 3 feet; north of the North Carolina-Virginia border to Martha's Vineyard, including the Chesapeake Bay, tidal Potomac River, and Delaware Bay, 1 to 3 feet of surge. We know about the winds. The rainfall expecting in the Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic 3 to 6 inches, and isolated maximums of 8. Southeastern New York and most of New England, 2 to 4 inches, isolated maximums of 6. And possibility for tornadoes as well, which I don't think's been mentioned much so far.
And speaking of hazards, can I repeat the summary of watches and warnings in effect right now?
Sure.
So, storm surge warnings are in effect for Edisto Beach, South Carolina, to Cape Fear, North Carolina. Storm surge warnings are also in effect for Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, including the Neuse and Pamlico rivers. And Oregon Inlet, North Carolina to the North Carolina-Virginia borders also under that storm surge warning. A storm surge watch is in effect for Cape Fear to Oregon Inlet, North Carolina. A hurricane warning is in effect for South Santee River, South Carolina to Surf City, North Carolina. A tropical storm warning is in effect for a lot of areas. Altamaha, South Sound, Georgia to South Santee River, South Carolina. North of Surf City, North Carolina to the mouth of the Merrimack River.
Merrimack
River. Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, Chesapeake Bay, tidal Potomac River, Delaware Bay, Long Island and Long Island Sound, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket and Block Island. And the tropical storm watch is in effect for the mouth of the Merrimack River to Eastport, Maine. I do apologize if I butchered the places.
So something we could
Well,
say right now,
he's joining us from the wilds of Russia, so I guess it's that.
I'm in Siberia, so I am a Google
yeah.
Would you believe we've
Yeah,
got
and
people of all kinds on our streams?
That's
Remarkable.
amazing.
Yeah,
Meg.
something funny we can see is that all of the East Coast right now all of the East Coast up from Florida, from Georgia, is under tropical storm warning or watch.
Huge
It
area.
just shows how, it's an enormous area. It's just if anybody had got the estimates of what's the population of the whole area, because that could be just about the same amount of people that are currently expected to be in the hurricane area of Hagupit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the 60-mile-an-hour regions of both storms are quite similar, actually, in population. Regarding Isaias, it's something like 32 million, and in China, it's something like 42 million ahead of Typhoon Hagupit. And if you've not seen it yet, this is what Hagupit is looking like right now. This update, I believe, is up to date. Let me just try and just check that and see if anything else comes up. So there is the very latest imagery of Typhoon Hagupit. Well, it's still loading in the imagery. Getting pretty close to the coast now, and looks like it's deteriorating a little bit, as some of you were expecting just before landfall.
Yeah, the eye has been contracting quite a bit, and it doesn't have kind of the best shape ever, especially if you look at it from infrared. You can see the whole in the frames how it just comes from a well-formed circulated eye into just like a small sort of blob, which looks kind of like an oval. So yeah, the eye seems to be I think collapsing, I would say.
A question about Isaias right now. Someone's asking, what's the biggest inhibiting factor to it? Dry air or shear or both? And I don't know if we can pull up water vapor imagery, but I mean, pretty consistently in the National Hurricane Center discussions since it really cleared out of Hispaniola. Wind shear has been the biggest inhibiting factor for the system. We're still at 25 to 30 knots of mid and upper level shear right now, which is displacing that convection to the north and east of the center. Dry air will potentially be an issue a bit more for it once it moves inland, but its baroclinic forcing and interaction with this upper level trough will make that less of an issue overall. Dry air, though, was more of an issue earlier on in its life when it was emerging from Hispaniola, though.
Once again, you can see Charleston now getting some significant rainfall.
Yep, some of those stronger bands are on shore now, so if you're in the Charleston area and that's going to be heading to Myrtle Beach before too long, please make sure you're inside and staying safe and taking the proper precautions and listening to local officials. It's not worth going out into something like this, even if you don't think it's going to be anything too serious. And it actually goes to someone asking, how much will Myrtle Beach be hit overall? I mean, they're under a hurricane warning, so prepare as such and make sure you're staying up to date with your local officials for the latest advisories on that location as well.
There's a super close-up right now of the Charleston area. If you're local to that region, you can see there the yellows and oranges are really creeping in and completely devouring that area right now. Please let us know what you're experiencing if you are in that area and it's safe to do so. There's also some significant showers continuing on through eastern Georgia there as well.
Yeah, I'm showing right now webcam from Foley Beach. I think that's Charleston. There's some rain going around. The floor is already soaked.
That's changed since we last looked.
Yeah, so you can see that the rain has already fallen, and right now the camera is a bit wet, and I would say that more. It
doesn't look all that bad at the minute.
Area. Yeah, right now it doesn't look that bad because it's mainly one of the bands, I would say, but it's expected to get worse from here.
That is true for a little while. Any other questions that you've seen, Strat?
I mean, there's always a lot flowing in, so let's see. Someone was asking for infrared of Hagupit, but I think we did just show that. Someone's also saying, would Isaias have a chance to have a more eastern direction? I think the clear-cut answer to that is if you asked us 3 days ago, or even 2 days ago, or a day and a half ago, it would have been more possible to see this go more northeast or east-northeast. That was depicted a bit more in the NHC cones, then showing a sharper turn and a potential center going over parts of Rhode Island and Massachusetts. But since then, it's become more apparent that this trough is going to kick it up quickly to the north-northeast, and that's why the forecast cone, as of 37 minutes ago, has the center of the storm going over parts of New York and even to Vermont and potentially even into Canada as well as a still tropical cyclone, rather than staying further east.
And that means we'll still be here if that's happening. Probably.
Yeah. Another question I'm saying, would Isaias have a chance to have a more eastern direction? Well, landfall is imminent at this point. We could also see, you can see the cone that the NHC puts up. That's not exactly the cone of how big the storm is going to be. It's just the cone where they could expect a sensor passing by in the realm of possibilities. So, that's why it's known as a cone of uncertainty, because in anywhere of that area, the center could pass in any of those areas.
And I should point out, for the first time at the last update at 11 a.m., the National Hurricane Center have noted that it is now heading precisely due north, a bearing of 360 degrees, which is pure north at 13 miles per hour. So at this point forth, we expect that the westward motion has ceased and it will start veering east.
Yeah, and a question coming in as well, how will New York be affected by Isaias? Well, we talked a bit about the upstate potential earlier, but it really depends on where you are, because New York is a massive state. You could be going from portions farther west where you're seeing less than an inch of rainfall to portions where you could see localized amounts over 6 inches with tropical storm force winds potentially over 50 knot sustained winds.
I think if we're going to super simplify this, western half good, eastern side bad.
Well,
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, really.
Basically, the eastern side of New York is oh sheesh.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that necessarily for the whole eastern part of the state. You know, significant impacts are of course possible and likely to occur. There's a tropical storm warning in place for a reason. But you know, I wouldn't say this is going to be a doomsday event by any stretch of the mean, or similar to some of the impacts that we saw from Sandy Irene almost a decade ago. It's going to be a significantly weaker system by that point, and smaller than both of them. Although flash flooding is going to be a concern, so depending on your exact location, you know, heavier rainfall is going to be more of a concern. So stay up to date with your local weather office for your exact location in New York.
Yeah, another question I'm saying right now is about 94L. Could this form into Josephine as it moves near the Bermuda?
It's actually looking a bit better today. Some more organized convection blowing up. I think it's still got a way to go. National Hurricane Center, have they got 60% now in the short term?
No, it's 40% still for 2 days,
still.
and then it's 60 for 5 days.
I'm not. I do think it's a bit high, but well, you never know. In a year like this, where everything else has formed so far, we've already had 10 tropical cyclones in the Atlantic. 9 of them named storms, well ahead of any other season, including 2005. Not well ahead, but a little bit ahead of 2005, and that is saying something.
I will say to 94L. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Strat.
I was just going to say to 94L's part that, you know, even though models aren't supporting it too significantly, we did see a storm earlier this year go from 0 model support and NHC designation to a tropical depression in under 18 hours. So it's technically possible.
We don't really know how good or bad the models are at the moment, especially at sea, because of less data at the moment.
Absolutely.
And that is very true.
And we said yesterday, if I remember, the average of tropical cyclones by this date, overall average, was around 3 tropical cyclones.
3 at most.
And at most,
we
that's
have
right.
3 times of that.
Exactly.
Yes.
9.
I do want to mention, though, about the forecast models. I just want to say, if you give forecast models junk information, they'll put out junk information.
Well, that indeed is true as well.
Yeah,
yes,
they don't even have any data verification. They're just like, get any data, put it on.
There have been some good model runs, though, so far this year, and
yeah.
I think, which one do you think's performed best for this one?
What do you say, guys?
413.
We're not a model.
We should just draw your own spaghetti model on the map.
Yeah, just draw it on a piece of paper.
Maybe we could do some kind of open source thing like that, where people just draw out their own model plots and we get an average to make our own computer model. That would be pretty cool. If anyone's got any web development knowledge, I don't, so if you could help us with that, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic.
That'd actually be great. That'd be great.
Anyway, we're still looking at this webcam here.
And actually,
go ahead.
Now that you were saying, I think the best one, the best performing so far has been the HWRF. Apart from what happened with Gonzalo, where they predicted, I think it was in Category 3. I think it has nailed some storms, such as it has been going up pretty good in this one. And Hannah was just a perfect forecasting by the HWRF.
Yeah, but the HWRF was significantly too bullish on the intensity of the system until much more recently. You know, it was calling for this to potentially be a Category 2 high end, making landfall in the Carolinas even only a couple days ago. If you're talking about intensity, the GFS, surprisingly, has been doing a pretty good job with the last couple storms. I know sometimes we give it a lot of bashing, which sometimes it deserves, but it's been on point mostly with the intensity, and its forecast track has been doing exceptionally well, too, other than parts of a couple days ago when it and most models were trying to deviate a bit further west, trying to make a landfall in Florida.
More questions here. After Isaias and 94L, will that be it until the core weeks of the season? I think we will have a little break. How long that break is, I'm not sure. But I think there will be a
About
little
week.
stoppage in the tropics, in Atlantic at least.
Well, we need a break.
Yeah,
I mean,
think it would be
Atlantic has
about.
been really active, and the Atlantic basin has been doing a classic West Pacific season. But well, you can see now we entered August, and the West Pacific is waking up. Hagupit is almost making landfall, and we have a really interesting bunch of storms in the South China Sea next to Hong Kong that could do something, but it's not quite confirmed yet. But well, it's something that we take an eye, of course.
Maybe. Looking once again at the satellite imagery, you can see the visible here of Isaias, and it's looking like it might actually be getting partially exposed there.
That shear is still 25 to 30 knots over the center, so...
So here we go again, wind shear chapter 3 now.
It could be a wind shear chapter 4 later on, but I don't know.
But if that trend is continuing here, that's really good news, and the storm weakening once again. This is what the models called for as soon as it struck Andros Island and lost its momentum. A lot of the mesoscale models and the global ones as well were calling for flare-up after flare-up, rises and falls. And it looks like we're about to see another fall here, but we can't rule out another rise before landfall.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, overall, convective activity is still performing pretty well in the northern quadrant, 2 northern quadrants of the tropical storm.
It is.
And especially now, more activity on the northwestern side than yesterday as this begins to interact with the trough that's going to move it to the north-northeast very quickly. So that's where you're seeing some of those heavier rainfall amounts starting to occur over portions of South Carolina. But fortunately, at least, this system has been increasingly less symmetrical today, with convection again mostly devoid on the southwestern side of the storm, and even mostly on good chunks of the southern side as well, with some bands trying to flow up from the southeast, of course, but a lot less symmetrical than yesterday.
Let's also take just another look here at Typhoon Hagupit, which is about to make landfall on the coast of China, very close indeed by this point. Let me just see if I could get a distance estimate on this. There's a very small island nearby as well. Just going to get the details on that too. And that will take a short moment here. But you can see it right now. Its current location. Around, I think when we did the update earlier on, it was 77 miles from Wenzhou. And at the moment it is right near Nanji Island. Is that small little outline on the edge of the storm's eye right now. So that's the 2 cyclones that are currently active. There's Isaias once again, and this is the infrared now on Hagupit, which is much the stronger storm, probably borderline category 2 here, but I think we'll be sticking with 90 miles per hour up until landfall by the looks of things. A rather tight core. It's only got winds extending out 100 nautical miles, and that's to the northeast and southeast. Decent eye temperature, but if it had more time, it would probably get much stronger.
I mean, fortunately for portions of eastern China, it doesn't have that time right now. It has a nice eye feature for the most part for the time being, but the core of the storm is very close to beginning to move over bit more rugged terrain in eastern China before it gets towards the flatlands of Shanghai as it moves inland. So that could be more disruptive to the storm than, say, Isaias moving over flatter parts of southeastern United States, for example.
Yeah.
Yep, looking back at Isaias right now, once again on the satellite imagery. We're here for another just 10 minutes or so. Message us, start your message with Force 13 all in text. And what on earth was that? And I wonder if anyone has radar imagery of Hagupit, because we had a few requests for that. I don't have it on my screen, on my setup here.
I'm gonna pull it up. Give me a minute.
Whilst we wait for that. Oh, Ike's doing some work as well. I thought we were looking back at the webcam. But let's take a look at the radar here.
I think radar right now is kind of lacking because it's mainly Chinese radar, and there's the
China does have radar,
Yeah, Yeah, that's what I was talking about, but it's kind of hard to access. Also, another thing that I want to discuss is 93W. What do you think is gonna happen to that? Do you think that's gonna form?
I'm not seeing much going on with that. It's near Mindanao in the Philippines, but
Yeah.
I'm not
I don't
seeing
know.
much
I
development.
don't know. Maybe it will develop. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
Well, I don't think it will, looking at it.
Neither do I. And in other news, apparently, well, it was mentioned earlier, I think, on the Discord server that an area of interest was forming in the North Indian Ocean, wasn't it? In the Bay of Bengal.
That's possible. Possible.
Yeah, I don't actually see that forming. Apparently, there's over 70 knots of shear wind in that area.
I mean, it's going to be a monsoonal condition for portions of India and Bangladesh as it moves over the region. But in general, shear and just the broadness of the system, which does have potentially some energy from the remnants of Sinlaku, going to be interacting with that a little bit, will be a bit too much to really allow this to develop into a tropical cyclone. And I will say, Nathan, at least to be fair to 93W, the JTWC is giving it a moderate chance of development right now in the next 48 hours.
They are. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they are also giving, or the National Hurricane Center is giving a 94L 60% with no model support right now. So, I mean, that's fair.
Well,
crazier things have happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing Nathan's part here, and I'm saying if anyone got any questions, send them in chat right now. We're on for another 10
time's
minutes or
ticking.
so.
But no, if you've got any questions for us whilst we're not on the air later on, you can always send a message through our social mediums, Force13 on Facebook and Twitter, or send an email along and join our Discord server. You can see it all at the bottom of your screen there. But in the meantime,
we have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from Weather Inc. Place, and he wants to know what the time is Isaias expected to make landfall.
Probably in the late afternoon, evening hours.
Yeah, I mean, the latest forecast cone says that by 8 a.m. Tuesday, this thing's already going to be at Virginia in terms of latitude inland as well. The latest forecast point has about 8 p.m. tonight. The storm will be just offshore South Carolina near the North Carolina border, according to the National Hurricane Center's forecast. So evening hours tonight are looking most likely for a landfall from this system at this point in time. And to the person asked about Sumter, South Carolina, they could see some significant rainfall totals from this, but it's going to really depend on the exact location of the landfall and track deviations and such. They could be on the edge of getting, 1 to 2 inches to potentially, if they're really unlucky, getting closer to 4 inches of rainfall. So stay up to date with your local weather office for that location to keep track of the changes. And if you're in a flood-prone area, please make sure you're just having a general storm plan in place.
Also, I'm sorry to butt in, but I think I heard Nathan say instead of social media, I think he said social mediums.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
Mediums is the plural of media.
Yeah.
Oh, is it the other way around? No, medium is the singular of media. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, enough of the grammar.
Now that you were mentioning rainfall, right now it's raining in Charleston, as you can see from the webcam.
I'm trying to get that. I'm getting a few. This is running really slow for me just now. Let's just try and get that webcam up here.
Oh yeah, it is
there
raining.
It is.
Here. It is raining there.
Yeah, as you can see, it's currently raining. People are already leaving the pier, which seems good and seems that it's gonna be good. But yeah, it's raining right there. It's also raining in the Palm. Give it up. Yep, there's also raining in the Palm Island, Isle of Palms. My bad.
I'm just trying to get my screen on. This is something I've been trying to do for about 5 minutes now. Trying to get the Chinese radar imagery on the screen, and I think we're just about to get it. So those who've been sitting tight waiting for ages finally get to see it. There it is, the latest radar of Typhoon Hagupit, which is about to make landfall on the Chinese coast there. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, very well defined eyeball at the system. Definitely worthy of being a typhoon, based on what we've seen with it this evening time or into the overnight hours, local time for China. So hopefully the people there have been preparing for the system as much as they can and staying safe. A question from someone in the chat, they're asking, will we be live for the landfall tonight at Isaias?
Probably.
Yeah,
I presume so. We've been live pretty consistently in the
Yes.
evenings, but our schedule could always shift a little bit to potentially fit a better time
To accommodate the
for the
storm,
storm
yeah.
making landfall.
The storm is expected to make landfall. What's it? 6 a.m. Seoul time.
It's going to be before that now.
Oh,
The
yeah.
latest update has it moving a bit quicker and slightly further west than last night's cone, which is a bit of an forcer in that as well. They're expecting it to make landfall near or slightly after 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. But it could happen sooner or later than that by, give or take a couple hours or so, depending on the exact conditions with the forward movement of the storm as it interacts with this trough. And a question related to that, does it have a chance to get stronger or does it stay like this before it hits Myrtle Beach? And that's going to be really dependent on whether or not it has another burst of organization like it's been waxing and waning over the past 2 days for the most part. It's going to be very dependent on that. But please, that area is under hurricane warning. Prepare as if you're going to be impacted by a hurricane and listen to local officials for the information on how to prepare properly and stay safe.
Oh my goodness. There's the infrared imagery right now.
It's looking very miserable.
It looks a bit like a Halloween mask at this point.
Yeah, it's looking very miserable from later images.
It's not looking great.
That
Gotta
is not
say.
Right,
No,
yeah.
of course not. And well, I want to think that it's not going to intensify a hurricane due to the high amount of wind shear that is taking over Isaias, like 20 to 30 knots, and it's increasing. It's not decreasing, so kind of that is like good news. But well, of course, it's not something that is going to make Isaias disappear or actually making less dangerous, and it's already affecting the east coast of Georgia and South Carolina and some parts of the North Carolina as well. And it's just about time that the real effects is going to be underway in those places.
I will say, at least with the latest satellite frames, even though shear is still having a significant toll in keeping convection off the southern side, there is an interesting banding feature north of the center, trying to keep some organization up. So it'll be interesting to see if that tries to wrap around a bit more when wind shear lessens a bit in the final hours up till landfall. But a potential new burst of convection trying to form over the center in this feature. It's a bit more visible on radar to see the strength of it to really try to keep this system going.
Well, I'm quite optimistic, I'm trying to be, because right now it does have a partially exposed circulation. That's something it didn't have yesterday. It was looking more complete at this point yesterday on the visible imagery. So here's hoping that it's going to continue having trouble, because, I'm tired of looking at it, honestly.
Yeah, it's something weird I'm looking. Something weird I'm looking at from those spaghetti models is that this still has it as a well, in the few spaghetti models, this already has it as still as a tropical. Well, I would say extra tropical storm up until Greenland from the
Oh my goodness.
spaghetti models. Yeah, it's amazing.
That sounds like a bad model. Have to. That's it for today's morning stream. Certainly don't lose focus. This could still make landfall as a hurricane late this afternoon into the evening hours, somewhere near the border with South and North Carolina. Thanks very much once again to our team who are working tirelessly. Real commendations to them. And we'll be back again, I'm sure, later on in the day to cover the landfall of Isaias. Make sure you subscribe, you'll get the latest updates. And Strat, anything you want to add?
Just other than that, thank you so much for the support, really. It's really very much appreciated. We're going to have the automated stream still going. It'll be posted in the chat, the link to that, and will be the pinned chat comment momentarily. And in a few minutes, the youtube.com/force13/live link will also default back to that for the time being.
Half the people watch that live stream just to listen to the music whilst they work.
That's true. It is some nice music. So if you're looking for just some updated satellite imagery and music, it's always a good place to take a look. Really appreciate the support. You know, if you want to get some more coverage from us, be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the stream. And just those simple things like that are really helpful to us. And thank you so much. Please stay safe and listen to local officials for your exact location as the storm passes over the next 48 to 72 hours.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
See you later.